What is this new emerging tariff threat looming over India's energy security? How will India maintain strategic autonomy over immense US pressure that we are seeing? And will India scale back or ban the Russian oil imports that we are seeing? A fresh trade war is brewing, and this time, surprisingly, it is not between US and China. It is between India and US. And where US continues to threat us with further more steep tariffs even after slapping 25% tariffs and an apparent penalty. What is the cause? The cause has been simple. All of a sudden, US has realized that India is buying Russian oil. And this is directly threatening our energy security. And has India given into it? Not at all. India stands firm on its ground that our energy security comes first. Our country's people, our country's health, economic health is our priority. Hello everyone, welcome to Vajiram and Ravi's Flash News. My name is Shubhangi Singh, and today we are going to understand the scenario of energy security amidst the threat that we are getting from US just after we have been put in a situation where 25% tariffs have been imposed on us. So, in a recent statement yesterday itself, President Donald Trump has highlighted the fact that there are substantial tariffs coming in for India, and the reason here is simple, that he will be raising substantial tariff paid by India because they continue to purchase Russian oil. He has also further remarked that India is making huge amounts of profit, and this is where we find that double standards, because just before this we had noticed India was called a dead economy, and now Indian economy is seemingly making huge big profits which have been highlighted. India has also been blamed for the fact that India does not care that how many people are being killed in Ukraine. And this whole thing establishes one simple scenario, that US is trying to pressurize India into a scenario where its energy security will be threatened. As of the last year, US almost imports $87.4 billion worth of goods from India, and if US imposes further more tariffs apart from the 25% that it has already imposed, then the Indian exports will greatly suffer. Our foreign exchange earnings will greatly suffer. Our rupee strength would be badly hit, and it would take a great hit if we go in the other direction. What is our other option? If we take up the tariff, our economy is going to be threatened. But if we do not take the tariff and continue with purchasing Russian oil that we are getting discounted, we are making sure that we are secure energy wise. And this is the leverage, this is the economic leverage that US wants to use to change our foreign policy, where India and Russia have been very strong allies, and it also wants to target India's own energy policy, where India is looking after its own strategic interest. Now the question comes in, what has been the response from India's end? So if we talk about India's response, India has clearly marked the fact that we will keep our strategic autonomy above the international US pressure that is being created. And in the recent statement which has been issued by Ministry of External Affairs, we have clearly highlighted that fact that India is just being targeted by United States as well as European Union when we are talking about imports from Russia. Just to highlight this fact, why I am saying that India is being targeted here, if you look at the numbers, especially in terms of European Union's Russian energy buy purchases in 2004, it is almost $25 billion worth. But when you look at the military aid that has been given by European Union to Ukraine, that is lesser than that. So why US and European Union are pushing India into something and directly blaming India for fueling Ukraine's war, Russia-Ukraine war, where they are also pretty much in the same boat. Here, India has clearly highlighted that the tariffs that have been already imposed, the penalty that has been talked about, and further tariffs that are being talked about, they are basically the targeting of India, and it is absolutely unjustified as well as unreasonable. And furthermore, they have also clearly clarified that we are going to safeguard our national interest, our energy security, when we can clearly see that European Union, United States, they are going ahead and doing that. India has made a clear statement here that US might enjoy bullying its allies, its countries, neighbors, but herein it is talking about a global power in the standing, and India cannot be bullied into this situation. India is open to conversation, and putting up imposition of tariffs amidst the trade talks that were continued is absolutely unfair and to an extent disrespectful. We are not even talking about the remarks that have come from the end of the US. Now, what is the energy security situation that we are talking about, and what is the policy that we are going to follow about it? So, in terms of energy security, we have been very clear that whatever policy we will follow, that will be in the context of placing our interest, our security in terms of energy first, and we are not going to negotiate that. That remains primary. That means it is reasserting the fact that sovereign autonomy, strategic autonomy will be kept above the random pressure that is coming from US. Apart from that, they have also talked about that foreign relations, Indo-US relations, they will not be dictated by third-party interests. So, in here they are talking about specifically Indo-Russia relations, that they cannot be dictated by US interests specifically, where its own allies, European Union, is not following that at all. Now, let us get into the details of energy scenario wherein we stand in terms of dependency and what we are getting from Russia. So, if we talk about the import dependency, we can clearly see herein that over the years, with the growth we have seen in the economy and oil remains a major fuel of the economy, the import dependency of oil has risen, and herein at present we are somewhere around 88% of dependency that we see. On an average in last 5 years, it is 85% of import dependence in terms of oil that we have to see. And especially after 2022, when Russia-Ukraine war broke out, just after that, European Union gradually scaled back the purchases from Russia, and there were no direct sanctions from US. There were few sanctions from European Union. Other than that, there were no direct sanctions specifically for India. So, Russia had the product and the market was comparatively declining for Russia because European Union was scaling back in terms of purchases. Now, India had an opportunity and Russia offered discounted oil. Now, we have been an ally of Russia. We have the provision of Vostro accounts where it facilitates the purchases in our own currency as well, and we were getting discounted oil which facilitates our growth and make sure we are in a comfortable position energy security wise. So, here India looked for its strategic interest, and we saw a huge jump from 2.5% of purchasal from Russia in terms of whatever we get from imports to a marked jump to 35% in 2024. Now, this is what is the irritant that is being troubling US, that India, China, these are the countries which are facilitating Russia, and if we want to stop this war, these guys have to stop with it, the purchases that they are getting from Russia. And here they have threatened almost secondary tariffs of 100 to 500%. If we look at the present rate, if we are talking about the imports from Russia, we are dependent on Russia for almost over 40% of import that we are getting. And in this situation, if we consider scaling back or banning Russian oil, it will disrupt our economy, it will have huge effects. What kind of effects we are talking about? When we are talking about the effects, we have to understand the discounted oil has helped in maintaining low inflation. So if that is not applicable further, that means the inflation will shoot up. Furthermore, the power industries will see huge setback. Furthermore, the energy predictability that we are getting as of now from knowing what are the sources and these sources are reliable, this will also be another problem. And since 2022, India has had advantages from the discounted oil that we are getting from Russia. It places us in an energy secure position. It gets us better foreign exchange returns. We are getting from a predictable source which has been our ally, and we have also been able to diversify our resources. We are not purely dependent on one country, be it US, be it Russia, UAE, Saudi, but we are looking towards Iraq also, Venezuela also, Kuwait, Nigeria, and many more agreements are coming in where India is further looking to diversify its sources. Now this pressure, immense pressure to cut down this huge supply is directly like putting Indian economy into the drain. That means it will directly hit our economy. That means we are being asked to choose that if we want to maintain our economy by buying Russian oil and being hit by US tariffs, or we are going to have choose to not buy Russian oil and then let the economy suffer. So here we have decided we are not going to disrupt, and India has given proper reply, be it in terms of PM Modi's call for Swadeshi 2.0 national movement, where we talk about vocal for local goods, where we are manufacturing, where we are selling, and where we are buying made in India goods, so that our internal economy strength becomes our leverage. Now when we talk about what exactly US is trying to make of the situation, US is doing nothing but it is directly challenging India's foreign policy, it is challenging India's oil policy, and it has already talked about that there will be potential hike in tariffs more than 25% that they will use to reverse India's oil policy as well as foreign policy. Now what kind of implications that we are looking at when we are talking about India has maintained its stance in terms of energy autonomy? So here in the larger significance implication that we will see herein, that when India has refused to yield to US pressure, it clearly shows that India has made a shift and shown the maturity of a global power. It is symbolic as well as important. Furthermore, it demonstrates realpolitik. What do I mean by that? It basically means we are prioritizing our citizens, the health of the economy, which will directly impact the citizens, and the economic health of our country over any sort of geopolitical alignment. The economic health is more important than aligning or pleasing especially US interests. And the most important thing that herein for us, these tariff threats, especially for India, is the time where we show our economic resilience, economic strength, and this energy security stance will remain the pillar of sovereignty as well as strategic autonomy. Herein, India's response will be an important one because this will set the roadmap and a precedent, especially for global south nation, where a larger nation, bigger economy is trying to set its own terms, but how maturely and with right words, right platform, we can get this in our favor and we can stand by our words itself. Now that was all from my side. If you have any doubts or questions, you can put it down in the comment section. Thank you so much.